All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're going to talk about how, the crypto pump might be over and why that's happened because of Tesla. Okay, so if you're watching, the crypto prices at all, yesterday, you might have seen that things kind of changed, really suspiciously around one piece of news that came out. So I'm talking about that in this video today. I'll look at a lot of other updates that have happened in this space since our live stream yesterday. Again, we do those Monday through Friday on this channel. Just turn on notifications, subscribe. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to answer some of your questions in the live chat here and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to know how to master blockchain step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Technically, Cody, Ruff, Dale, Steven. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll give this just a second, wait for the live stream to pop up in YouTube before we start really going in full force here. Let's see, let's just make sure we're rocking okay. Give it a second to boot up here. Okay, awesome. Welcome, welcome. Venture Warrior, Steven. All right, so let's jump into this. So let's talk about, Tesla and what's going on with the crypto prices, okay? So, we've seen a significant rally for crypto off the lows over the past, week or so. We've seen ETH up, 50%, 100% off the lows, 50% in a matter of a few days. We've seen, Bitcoin make some pretty impressive gains as well, up in the 24,000 range, eyeing $25,000, and things abruptly stopped yesterday. Let's just see here. Right about here. Okay, right about, let's see, this is 11 UTC time. So what happened? Well, there's no accident that the entire crypto market took a turn at the same time. We've been talking about for days on this channel, like whether this is a relief rally, this is a trend reversal. I've always been saying be very cautious of what's in play here because it's really too early to tell. So definitely be cautious. And now you're seeing why. So crypto markets, whenever things get kind of frothy like this in the short term, again, nobody's get super excited about a $24,000 Bitcoin several months ago, okay? But after, Bitcoin's trading at, $18,000, 24 starts to look pretty exciting because of the percentage increase. And so that's a pretty fast move, especially with ETH basically doubling in price in that short amount of time. So one of the reasons for this is also leverage. You get a lot of leverage in the system. Things start to get kind of pumped up. And whenever you have these type of leverage bubbles, they can very easily pop, for any reason, right? Somebody just sells a lot of crypto. It can be sort of a catalyst that starts to pop, and you have this cascade liquidations that end up killing those pumps. So that can also happen with just some news that spooks the market. And we did have some news that spooked the market yesterday with the news of Tesla selling off 75% of their Bitcoin holdings. Okay, so what is this and why is it significant? So, if you weren't watching the crypto space in early 2021, or maybe you were, you might remember this, maybe forgotten, Tesla bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin for their balance sheet. And whenever they did this, it was a huge deal because if you haven't been in the crypto space for a really long time, the fact that any big name would start to publicly associate itself with crypto is a huge deal. Okay, so not just that, but one of the big narratives for Bitcoin in general, during the beginning of the last major bull run was, an institutional grade asset that you could buy and hold on balance sheets, as an inflation hedge, store of value, all that type of stuff. And whenever Tesla, came on board, that was a huge validation for that thesis. And of course, as the Fed has, kind of U-turned and we start to see crypto done what it has over the past 6 or 7 months, it starts to show weaknesses in those narratives. And then even more on top of this, you have Tesla basically, reversing course and selling off 75% of their Bitcoin holdings, I believe at a loss. So I'm not actually sure what their average buy-in price was. Maybe we can see in the article here. If it was, let's see here, Bitcoin's valued this. I I don't see it. So I don't know if they sold it at a loss, or it was a break even, or if it was a slight gain. I don't have the math off the top of my head. I don't have the accurate statistics, but it's a big deal, right? So one of the reasons is because basically whenever Tesla did this initially, crypto markets just soared. You know what I mean? We saw if you go back and look on the Bitcoin charts, we have this quick rise in price that we call the Elon candle, simply because something on the Bitcoin chart. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. I think it was sometime around in here. I mean, we saw that, we just saw things just rise up really, really fast. And anyways, so we have basically the opposite of that now. So, that was sort of the catalyst that popped the short-term bubble that we're seeing form in the crypto markets. There's a lot of questions on the table whether this is a temporary setback in the sort of relief rally that we're seeing, okay? Whether this is actually something that's going to, kill the bear market rally that we've had and send us back down to prior lows or even make new lows. So, like I was saying before on our previous streams, basically, it's really hard to forecast, what's going to happen with the price in the short term. I've been outlining a couple scenarios of the past couple days where, I've been talking for lots of reasons why there's a good reason to think that we have seen a bottom for Bitcoin, okay? And so all these things can be true at the same time where, we've seen a lot of bottom signals out there where you've seen funds blowing up, you've seen major players getting liquidated, cascading liquidations, insolvencies, all that type of stuff. Huge percentage drops off the all-time highs. Okay, so those are a lot of bottom signals in my mind. Now, I'm not trying to call the bottom in real time. I think it doesn't make any sense to try to do that with confidence. It's a horrible risk-reward scenario because if you're right, nobody really cares or remembers, and if you're wrong, then everybody just blames you. So, I'm not trying to call it bottom all the time, but there are lots of reasons to think, we have seen a bottom or why crypto could be forming a bottom. So it could be very well possible that, the lows and those high, teens for Bitcoin are, hold as the bottom. And we see this pump and go back and revisit those lows and we are forming a bottom over time. Okay, that's a very possible scenario here. And sort of this relief rally that we've seen here, could have been cut short by the news. But if it is just a relief rally, then of course something is going to kill that momentum, and it was a matter of time to find out what it was, and it might have been the Tesla news, and that may send us back down to the lows, and we might make new lows, we might bounce off of those, but that is what I would expect after this. Now, another possibility is that it's a short-term setback, and then we continue our rally. The other way of thinking about this is, the Tesla news, they sold a while ago, all right? That you have to understand is they sold back here. My camera keeps doing this. I'm not sure why. Let's see if I can get to reset. I haven't figured out why it does this. But I believe Tesla sold at an average price of let me see if it tells us in our article here. I can't remember what the average price was of the selling, but it was I'm pretty sure it was back here. It was relatively speaking a while ago at a different level of Bitcoin than we currently are right now. So there's the other argument of basically hey, this already happened, and people are overreacting to something that happened already in the past. It's not like they just dumped it right now and they're gonna have these cascade liquidations. Part of this is you understand it's an earnings report, so it's delayed, right? So the other thought is that basically anybody who would sell their Bitcoin in size because the Tesla news, okay, has probably mostly already sold or capitulated out of their holding at this point. And then a lot of the sort of the paper-handed, participants. There's not a diss on anybody who wants to get out of crypto. There's lots of reasons why you might need to sell off some crypto. But people who would panic sell, based on this type of news, are largely out of the market. Okay, that's another perspective here. So there are reasons why you could form a thesis to say basically hey, it's a temporary setback, but we could ultimately continue our uptrend from here. So those are the perspectives, those are the outlooks. But at least in the short term, it looks like they did kill our pump. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Is it over? Are we going back down to the lows? Are we gonna make new lows, or is the market strong enough to shrug this off and continue on to, new highs. Not new highs, I should say. I don't think we're going to new highs like very soon. But I mean, we reclaim some critical levels. Like I think we'd have a lot of people super happy if Bitcoin reclaiming like a $30,000 level, ETH, reclaiming it into the 2000s. I think those are kind of the next levels that people are eyeing, simply because you can kind of see it stair step down here, right? Like if we can get back up to this stair step, that's going to put a lot of confidence in the marketplace. Similar type of thing for ETH. You can see the stair steps on the legs down. Getting back up. Let's just see here. We got a couple of stair steps on ETH before we really get up in that $2,000 range, but you can see it 3K, about 2K, and then, down into like one-ish K, kind of in this range. So, so Andy says he thinks we're headed for the trenches. Next is ETH BTC flip. Hey, that would be awesome. So let's see here. So another thing to think about with the Tesla news, and I put this on my Twitter today, yesterday, got a lot of reactions. But one thing with the Tesla news is like, Tesla did sell 75% of their Bitcoin holdings. But like, you have to remember, like, Tesla still like owns 25% of their Bitcoin. Now, it's got a lot of comments because I don't know, I think people read this the wrong way. I wasn't trying to like be a Bitcoin maximalist. If you watch this channel, like, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi by any stretch of the imagination. I do hold some Bitcoin. I'm not like, I don't know, a lot of people who are pretty strong on the ETH side of things, which if you watch this channel, I'm heavily weighted ETH. Don't want anything to do with Bitcoin, and people who are very into Bitcoin don't want anything to do with ETH, vice versa, right? So I'm not trying to get it off into those weeds. I'm mostly backing things that I think have a strong value proposition long term. I still think Bitcoin has a strong value proposition long term, despite people's hate on it, all that type of stuff. But you have to understand, like Tesla still owns 25% of their Bitcoin, right? That's like weak T consolation here. I wasn't trying to say like, well, look, guys, we still got 25%. What I'm saying is most people have the assumption that, like, Tesla just dumped all their crypto. They want nothing to do with crypto. That's not true. Like they still hold 25%, okay? And that's something that I think a lot of people are just simply overlooking. Now, again, like I said, it could be kind of weak tea because, yeah, they dumped 75%. But don't forget, 25% of their holdings, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's still like 10,000 Bitcoin or something like that. It's a lot of Bitcoin. So, like, don't overlook that. Like, if you knew any other, like, if we just got if you had erased this entire history of knowing what Tesla had, bought and sold, and then a news headline just came out and was like, Tesla owns 10,000 Bitcoin, and you knew none of their prior history, people would like absolutely lose their minds, in a good way. You know what I mean? So like, kind of keep some of this in perspective. Somebody says they think the true recession comes in 2023. Hope we get a nice rally before then. The question is, why did Tesla sell? Do you think it's going to zero, or do they think there's a chance to sell and buy back lower? So it's a good question. I mean, I think honestly with Tesla, a lot of the earnings, a lot of the fact is they are a publicly traded company and they are, beholden to their shareholders, and earnings matter, and like cash, their balance sheet matters. Okay. And, if Bitcoin's down, I think it's like a double thing for Tesla. Like, it's part of it's the financial reports, part of it's the green perception of Bitcoin or lack thereof. You know what I mean? Because we've already seen comments from Elon be like, Bitcoin's not green enough. So I think it's a double pressure from the Tesla side of things. They're in a unique situation. Like, I don't think the takeaway here is Tesla thinks Bitcoin is going to zero, so they dump 75% of it. If they thought it was going to zero, they'd dump all of it, right? And that's the other thing, is if they truly thought that Bitcoin was categorically bad for the environment, they wouldn't keep 25% of it. So like, you got to keep all this stuff in perspective. Yeah, we don't need. He says, "Who cares? We don't need Elon." Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not. No disrespect to Elon here. It's hard for me to, you know, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, uh, be the armchair critic of somebody who's built a pretty impressive empire. I know he's a polarizing character. A lot of people in crypto don't like him. A lot of people, he's very polarizing. People love him or they hate him. I'm just analyzing the actions here. Hey, if Elon wants to come on this channel, talk about it, I'd be happy to do it. And that's an absolute long shot. Probably never going to happen. But hey, a guy can dream, right? I'm sure everybody in this stream would love watching it, love to ask questions in real time. We'd probably be the biggest live stream we've ever done in the entire history of this channel. So Kitty says, I think that's how you say your name. Tesla bought and sold for publicity. It could be. Could be a factor for sure. Elon tends to do, tends to do things that have consequences beyond, what they initially appear to be. We got the Twitter deal, you know what I mean? Backing out of the Twitter deal is a pretty significant thing. We talked about the Twitter deal for a long time on this channel because, basically, Twitter stands a chance at, at being one of the great social giants that could not easily, but most easily, put it this way, pivot to a Web 3.0 paradigm, okay? Because, I know Twitter gets a bad reputation for censorship and all that type of stuff, right? I get that. But, just the format of Twitter being an open platform where you can just, see things. You don't have to, friend people. The social graphs are very loose. It's like one of the easiest formats to turn into a Web 3.0 type of thing. And there's a lot of excitement around, Elon was talking about, hey, the Twitter algorithm should be open source. That was one of his sort of Easter egg tweets before he started talking about acquiring Twitter. And we're like, hey, this is a great opportunity to move to Web 3.0 social media. Of course, I do think social media would be a great, a great application for Web 3.0, assuming we can get it right and get the incentives right. And so, basically, it's going to be a lot easier to take an existing social network with network effects and convert it to Web 3.0 than build one from scratch. And I think Twitter was one of the best candidates for that. But it doesn't look like Elon's going to buy Twitter and turn it into a Web 3.0 platform. Especially they're trying to sign up for the boot camp before the cutoff and had issues. If you had technical issues, you were not able to, if you had a funding issue or something, just shoot an email and we'll try to get it worked out. What's the biggest hypothetical catalyst for crypto mass adoption? That's a great question. So I would say, probably the biggest hypothetical catalyst would be, a use case that you just can't say no to. You know what I mean? And that could be a variety of things where basically it's a use case where, essentially that could be several things where, you get into a situation where there's incentives to use the new way of doing things. Okay. And then once that incentivizes all these early adopters and it starts to gain network effects, then it gets harder not to use the thing. Now, I really think with crypto, that could be something financially related because there's all these different use cases for crypto that are in their infancy that may or may not get adopted. Okay. We don't exactly know everything we're going to use crypto for. I really am not the type of person who's so naive to think that everything's just going to be built on crypto. No, it's well, we're going to use the right tool for the right job. Web 3.0 isn't going to just completely replace all of Web 2.0 and web servers and all that type of stuff. Just like Web 2.0 didn't erase Web 1.0, right? It was an expansion, okay, of the technology. It was not, just tear down and replace, right? Web 1.0 is largely static websites, email, all that type of stuff. We still have those things, okay? It's just that when we went to Web 3.0, we added like, rich web applications, database-backed web applications with, user authentication. We added mobile, we added responsive, we added all these extra features. We added social networks. We didn't replace the old thing. So similarly with Web 3.0, we're going to add the internet of value and then add the internet of value to the Web 2.0 experience. Now we might replace some things, right? Like, a paradigm shift from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0 is basically how you log in. You know what I mean? Like right now, we have database-backed web applications where you store username and password in there. And then that's how you're a user of each application. But with Web 3.0, you're a user of the entire network, right? You just have a wallet, and that's your username and password, kind of for everything, right? It's for everything. So you're universal on Web 3.0. And so there's some things like that can be replaced. But the whole point is like, just because we're not going to use databases anymore for username and passwords in that type of paradigm, that means you won't use a database for anything, right? You don't want to put everything on a blockchain. There's some stuff that can be centralized. That's okay. But some stuff you don't want to. The stuff that actually represents value, you don't want that to be controlled by a central entity. You want it to be controlled by, you. So, so the whole point I'm trying to make here is there's lots of stuff that we're in the infancy of that could be that could turn into Web 3.0. I'm talking about Web 3 social networks, but like we're not just going to copy and paste everything onto Web 3.0, okay? But the stuff that absolutely makes sense are financial use cases, all right? And some of those are boring, okay? But it doesn't change the fact that there's big incentives that they're better, faster, cheaper, and can be than our other alternatives, okay? Things like payments, okay, stable coins, all that type of stuff. And so, people say like, well, nobody, paying with crypto is hard. I'm not talking like you may be paying in the future where you don't know that you're like paying with crypto, okay? Because there's a huge possibility that the financial infrastructure that we have right now could get gutted and replaced by crypto with transactions, like things like, automatic clearinghouses like ACH, Swift, like all this antiquated plumbing. Like if you've ever had to do a wire transfer, you know how cumbersome that can be. Like all that stuff could potentially be snapped out and replaced with crypto infrastructure, okay? But you may not know that you're using crypto at the end of the day. So there's lots of stuff like that, that could essentially lead to crypto mass adoption, okay? And the other part of this is like I said, we don't know the extent to which crypto is going to be applied to everything because that becomes evident as these things come out. But, if we can get killer use cases that have strong incentives for people to adopt them initially, where that just gets a strong enough user base where it gains a massive network effect across, the population, that at some point, like, it becomes harder not to use it. You know what I mean? So, like, think about, like, paying with electronically with cards. Like in some cases, like, there are places don't even accept cash. Like, I've been to, like, paid parking lots. Or, like, you see it now where it's like, if you ever had to go to a restaurant and they're like, hey, scan your QR code to read our menu or something, like when we're going through lockdowns or not necessarily lockdowns, but going through, contactless everything. Like if you didn't have a phone, like you're kind of in trouble, right? There may have been solutions, but there's lots of things now where people just assume that you have a cell phone, a smartphone where you can scan a QR code. People just assume that you have a digital payment method. But like 15 years ago, that was not necessarily the safe assumption. Okay. So similarly, I think once we get to a point where like people assume that you can blank, that you know how to type, that you know how to fill in the blank. That's when things get too hard not to use, if that makes sense. And I think most likely, that will be a financial use case, and probably not like an esoteric thing that's limited to people who only participate in the finance world. I mean, like probably more like consumer payments, maybe consumer finance of some kind. I don't mean like trading. I don't mean doing derivatives. I don't mean earning, fancy yield, because that's really more analogous to what happens in the, finance world now. And finance is a minority participation. I mean, not that many people on the grand scheme of things in terms of a percentage of the population, like invest in individual stocks or like trade options. I mean, they got a big generation of like Robinhood traders and stuff like that, but they're still a tiny minority on the grand scheme of things. Like you might have some traditional people who have like 401ks, Roth IRAs, retirement funds, but they literally may not even understand how they even work in the first place. And some people don't even have those at all. So I don't think that like, the really esoteric DeFi stuff is going to be the, mainstream mass adoption use case for like, grandma and grandpa. But here's the other thing is like one possible outcome of crypto adoption is that it just becomes really big for finance. And, it may not be the type of thing where grandma and grandpa are aware of it and use it, right? Like, it doesn't have to, like crypto can still, get to multi-trillion-dollar market caps, with those use cases alone. Like if Bitcoin actually usurps gold's place as a long-term like digital store of value, okay, like not that many people in the grand scheme of things own gold, but it still has a pretty big following. And if Bitcoin even gets close to gold's market cap, that's massive. Okay, same thing for something like Ethereum. Like if Ethereum really does become a global settlement layer for finance, like grandma and grandpa don't have to have an ETH wallet and flip NFTs in order for the market cap of ETH to become absolutely massive. Okay, like if just the finance world adopts it, just for even business to business use cases and, advanced consumers, basically advanced retail participants. Like there's a ton of upside potential just in those use cases alone. I think sometimes people feel like crypto has to eat the entire world for it to become long-term sustainable and valid. And this is not true. Like we can do a lot with a little. So it's not if, it's when. Says Bootcamp is business set up for React. It should be business set up for React. If you have a problem with the React section, just shoot an email. We're just taking care of. I don't know if you mean installing React. Create React app comes with a new version of Node.js. If you're using the same version of Node.js, you should have Create React app in there. Let's see here. Gold holders only stock anyway. Yeah, totally. Is Bitcoin going to zero? I really don't think so. All right, everybody. Great questions. Great stream today. As always, subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button down below. That really helps these videos out. So they're more blockchain. Go ahead and smash it. Go ahead and smash for me. That really helps us out here. So, if you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage. You find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you'd like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time.